So maybe I can give you the story of one of my clients, because in that way it'll show
That'd be great.
how kind of how I work. And I'll call this person George to protect his privacy. And George is the CFO of an international firm. And when I came to George, he was complaining a lot about his young people, his millennials at the time, how many mistakes they made. And he said, Susan, there's no reason for them to make these mistakes because I have an open door policy that anybody can walk through. And what I heard in him is what is a lot of right, wrong judgments. Okay.
Mm.
And I just asked him, George, he said, I'm just curious. Has anybody ever walked through this open door of their own free will? And I remember him stopping. And all of a sudden he looked at me and said, I don't think so. I said, so what do you think the reason is for that? And he looked at me and said, I don't know. I said, okay. So this was part of his journey too. So I always enter through Salbona, which is about, Salbona means I see you in Zulu, and it's about seeing the whole person. And we start by seeing their gifts. And so George, in the first month, I would do a very deep assessment, and he put out to several people, what are my gifts? What are my blind spots, to find them? And what came back for him is that, and he started to read this. He goes, yes, I have the gift of analyzation, but he realized that he analyzed people like he analyzed numbers, with a lot of judgment. And what he needed to be able to do is to be able, the other side to the gift of analyzation is what we call our blind spot, or what we're blind to and need to learn. Every gift has a blind spot. And it's not something negative. It's something that it's a gift we don't possess. Okay. So the other side to his gift of analyzation, it's really how the gift is defined for him, was to be able to really connect with people through his heart. Because he analyzed with his head, he needed to connect with his heart. Now, the other thing that he discovered, another one of his gifts, is that he had compassion for others, but he blocked it with his right, wrong judgments. And so he started to go, wow, I'm starting to see things. And I said, do you think this might be the reason that people don't come in? Is because they're afraid of being judged by you. And so they'd rather make mistakes than come in and get all your judgments. And he said, wow, probably. So the way we started was, I had to first quiet his mind so we could drop into his heart and develop its intelligence. And so we did various practices, very simple, of meditation. Also, George walked in the morning. So I had him do a walking kind of meditation. And instead of thinking about all the things that he would have to do during the day, the whole practice was, he had a thought, say thinking, let it go back to observing nature and walking slow. So these kinds of practices allowed him to quiet his mind so he could drop into the heart. Because if the mind is talking too much, it's really hard to develop that intelligence of the heart. We develop heart intelligence, and you learn this through Heart Math Institute too, through practices of appreciation. And one of the practices that I had him do was that he would, in the morning, when he would come to greet his people, instead of just doing a drive-by, I call, which is, hi, how you doing? I'm fine. But, that very superficial stuff. He would come in and he would literally sink into his heart, breathe through it, and he'd say, hi, Marcella, how you doing? And he would try to connect from his heart into hers. And she would talk and he'd really receive it. Okay. I think the biggest breakthrough for him in developing his heart intelligence, and, when he would talk to people, he would appreciate what they were giving to him rather than judge it, But the biggest practice that I gave to him that really was the breakthrough in his heart intelligence was I found out in the assessment I did that he was a pianist.